Idiotosin, are you pro-life or pro-choice?
Yes. To both of them. Yeah, I don't really like the terms pro-life and pro-choice because they're both kind of loaded terms. Everybody is pro-life, except for, like, murderers. And everybody is pro-choice, except for, like, submissives. People who want abortion to be legal are not anti-life. They just don't think that a fetus is alive in the first place. And people who want it to be illegal aren't anti-choice. They are just against this one singular choice. You still get all of the other choices, minus one. It's not like if abortion becomes illegal, all of a sudden you won't be able to choose between soup and salad.
But idiot, that is still technically limiting women's choices, which means they are still anti-choice.
Okay, but every law limits people's choices. That's what laws are. Laws against carjacking limit your choices because now you can't choose between carjacking and not carjacking. You are forced to not carjack. But nobody would call laws against carjacking anti-choice.
But carjacking hurts another person, whereas abortion does not.
Ah, yes. So that brings us to our next point. The whole killing babies thing. Let me finish my next sentence before you pass judgment. I'm not here to tell you that abortion is killing babies. I'm not here to tell you that abortion is not killing babies. I'm not here to tell you that abortion should be legal, and I'm not here to tell you that abortion should not be legal. That is not what this video is about.
Snake keeps his beliefs private.
I'm not a woman, so I'm not supposed to have an opinion on abortion anyway, remember? So instead I'm just going to give you my opinion on other people's opinions on abortion. So yeah, I am not saying that abortion kills babies. I am saying that the people who are opposed to abortion think that it kills babies. And that's kind of a big deal. And no other argument that you put forward about the benefits of abortion being legal is going to stand up against, yeah, but it kills babies though. It's an unwanted pregnancy.
Doesn't mean you get to kill a baby.
It's none of your business what a woman does with her body.
It is my business when you kill a baby.
The baby could be dangerous to her health.
Not as dangerous as killing a baby.
You're shaming women who get abortions.
Murder is a shameful thing.
Planned Parenthood does so much other stuff. Abortion is only a small fraction of what they do.
If you spend 99% of your time doing other things, and 1% killing babies, you are still killing babies.
If you don't let women get abortions, it'll lead to more women killing their babies after they're born.
Let me kill this baby, or I'll kill this baby.
I thought you were against the government telling people what to do.
Not when the thing they're telling you not to do is kill babies.
How is it that performing an abortion gets you more jail time than rape?
Because murder is worse than rape.
How can you be pro-life if you don't want gun control?
Because guns can kill people, and killing people definitely kills people.
The baby might have a bad childhood.
Better than being dead.
The foster care system is overcrowded.
Better than being dead.
The baby might grow up with a mother who doesn't love them.
Better than being dead.
You see my point. Wait, why are you doing the anti-abortion arguments now? I thought you were arguing for it.
I don't have any actual political opinions. I'm just a narrative device for you to bounce arguments off.
Robot's getting a little too self-aware. Don't know if I like that. If you want to change the minds of people who think that abortion is killing babies, you have to convince them that it is not killing babies. The argument should not be, I don't want to kill babies. You're a sexist. Instead, the argument should be, I don't want to kill babies. It's actually not killing babies. And here's why. Shouting the word sexist at people isn't going to do anything.
But they are sexist.
No, they're not. It would be sexist if both men and women could get pregnant, and only men were allowed to get abortions. Granted, there can be sexist reasons why someone might be opposed to abortion. Hey, why don't you like abortion? 'Cause I hate women. Ah, that's a pretty open and shut case there. But being against abortion, in and of itself, is not inherently sexist.
It affects women more than men. That makes it sexist.
That's not what sexism is. Lots of things affect one gender more than the other. That doesn't make them sexist. Most public urinators are men. That does not mean that laws against public urination are sexist against men. I can't believe I have to say this, But the reason more women would be affected by this is not because of discrimination. It's because men don't get pregnant.
Well, if men could get pregnant, they'd be giving out abortions for free, on every street corner, and in every Starbucks.
Wow, that sure is a cute fanfiction you've written. So being able to get pregnant makes you more likely to want abortion to be legal, eh? Well, that's funny, because last I checked, women can get pregnant. 3% difference. So yeah, I guess being able to get pregnant doesn't make you significantly more likely to want abortion to be legal, since the people who actually do get pregnant aren't really all that more likely to want abortion to be legal, and aren't really any less likely to want it to be illegal. But if we continue with that logic, that men would be drastically more supportive of abortion if they could get pregnant, if that's true, then that would mean that if both men and women could get pregnant, men would be way more supportive of abortion than women would be. Want an even hotter take than that? Okay, so men don't get pregnant, which means 57% of men want abortion to be legal, not because of any self-interest, but because they just think it's the right thing to do. Now, if being able to get pregnant makes you significantly more supportive of abortion being legal, then that means that a lot fewer women would want abortion to be legal if women didn't get pregnant. Which means the only reason women are on the same level as men when it comes to supporting abortion is because of their own selfish interest.
You don't seriously believe that, do you?
No, I don't believe that. But that's the logical conclusion of that argument. If it is true that being able to get pregnant makes you significantly more likely to want abortion to be legal, then that would be true too. But while we're on the topic of selfish interest, from a purely selfish point of view, men benefit from abortion being legal. 'Cause, you know, you don't gotta pay child support if there's no child to support. Men also don't gain anything from abortion being illegal. In fact, they're worse off, 'cause of the aforementioned child support thing. They're not as worse off as women are, because that whole pregnancy thing is a bit of a drag, but they are still worse off. Men who are against abortion being legal aren't against it out of their own selfish interest. They're against it because they think it kills babies. Just like how women who are against abortion being legal are against it because they think it kills babies. So many arguments are based around the genders of the people involved, and they all go out the window because of this. I mean, really, someone's gender shouldn't matter in the first place. If you're right, you're right, and if you're wrong, you're wrong. It doesn't matter the gender of the person saying it. So even if one gender was drastically more likely to want things one way or the other, that wouldn't automatically make it true. But if you're going to argue about the genders of the people involved, then that's still a dead end, because men and women are identical in terms of their opinions on abortion. If women were running the show, we wouldn't be having this debate. No, it'd be about the same. It's not a war on women being waged by men, where all the women are begging, pleading desperately for the right to choose, and all the men are like,
"No, women do not get choice."
Gender is like the least relevant factor. It's all down to political party, religion, and like location. So voting more women into office really won't change anything, because in more blue states, a man holding public office probably already supports abortion being legal. And in more red states, any woman voted into office would be just as likely as any man in office to support making abortion illegal. Sometimes people complain about the people making decisions being white men specifically. Like, do black men get pregnant? What does race have to do with abortions? Yeah, black people and white people, about the same on abortion. A group of 25 black Alabama women would be just as likely to come to the same conclusion as a group of 25 white Alabama men. Oddly enough, Hispanics are a bit less in favor. So, you know, I guess maybe Hispanics shouldn't be allowed to vote, because they're a bunch of backwards thinking idiots who just don't get it like the rest of... Even as a joke, I feel bad saying that. Like, I don't see how like actual real life people like say things like that with sincerity. I had a whole list of like hot takes about abortion where I just replaced the word men with Hispanics, but I kind of don't want to do anymore because that first one was already bad enough. Okay, I'll do one more. These Hispanics, they're not sending their best. They're anti-choice. They're anti-women. they're pro-rapist, and 49% of them, I assume, are good people. That's me done.
Women should still be the ones making decisions, because they know best about this.
Not necessarily. Being born with certain body parts doesn't automatically grant you knowledge of how those body parts work. I have a heart beating inside my chest. That doesn't mean I know how to perform heart surgery. Having a uterus does not automatically make you an expert on the female reproductive system. There are grown adult women who don't know that pee doesn't come out of the vagina.
Am I pregnant? Am I pregnant? Can you get pregante? What is the best time to sex to become pregnant? My circle is normal, but yet I still don't get pregnant. What can I use? Has anybody got pregnant by just pre-cum while using birth control? Danger ops, pregnant sex. Will it hurt baby top of his head? Pregnant? Can I get bringed if he had a condom on? I think I'm pregnant with my 14th child.
Yeah, gender equality fun fact. Women are just as stupid as men. If it's expertise that you're after, then the only people who should be allowed to make decisions on abortion should be obstetricians. Those obstetricians could be women, or they could be men, as long as they're obstetricians. There's also the fact that barring men from making decisions on abortion wouldn't change anything, since women are just as likely to want abortion to be illegal as men are.
Well, why is it that there are never any laws that are proposed to limit men's reproductive rights?
Because men don't have any reproductive rights to take away. I reiterate, men do not get pregnant. Every so often you'll see the "what if it was illegal to come" take. People really think they're being clever with that one. Yeah, a sperm is not the male equivalent of a fetus. A fetus is the result of a sperm fertilizing an egg.
The two of us together.
A sperm on its own or an egg on its own are not the same thing as that. Initially, I was going to say that if anything, ejaculation is like the male equivalent of a period, because one is getting rid of sperm and the other is getting rid of an egg. But then someone pointed out to me that when you have your period, the egg is already dead. That's like why periods happen. So you can't really kill something that's already died of natural causes. So with that in mind, there really isn't any female equivalent to ejaculation in this context. There's no situation where a woman just yeets a live egg out of her. But the point still stands, that ejaculation is not the male equivalent to abortion. I do find it ironic that the people saying that lawmakers don't know enough about the reproductive system to make these decisions don't know the difference between a gamete and a zygote. Every so often you'll get the "I wish I had more rights than a gun" statement. You do. Even if you couldn't get an abortion, that is one right. You still have all of the other rights. You have every right minus one. And guns don't have rights. They are things. Gun owners have rights. And in regards to guns specifically, they really only have the one right, which is to have one. And also women can and do own guns as well. Yeah, other people who know more about gun laws than I do have made better jokes about this than I can already. You get the idea. You want something even blunter, stupider, and more pseudo-poetic? How about this? Have any states legalized being a woman yet? Jesus. Yeah, if making abortion illegal counts as making it illegal to be a woman, which is already a take in and of itself, but if that's the case, then still, 40 plus states it is legal to have an abortion. So in 40 plus states, it is legal to be a woman. Being a woman has been legalized for quite some time. I like the word "yet" at the end. Like it hasn't happened yet and you're waiting. Because even in the states you're criticizing, the restriction on abortion has only happened very recently, as in the same month that you've made this tweet. So even in those states, being a woman was legal up until very recently. It's the exact opposite of what you're describing. Oh, Jesus. All this talk about how the right only has one meme and they won't let it die, and now the left is using that meme too. Fantastic. Just fantastic. The Mythbusters guy has been having some hot takes as of recent. Look at this. Okay, so obviously the first part of this is correct. Your religion does not inherently make you a more or less moral person. He's right on that one. But it's the rest of this. He starts off trying to correct the guy, but then he realizes that he's not allowed to correct the guy because only women possess this knowledge. So the guy has to go talk to a woman. But then, of course, because discussion is harassment, the guy who has to go talk to women now can't go talk to women. This isn't even double think at this point. This is triple think. Alright, last one before we switch over. The unborn are a convenient group of people to advocate for. When they are born, you can forget about them because they cease to be unborn. Yeah, no shit, the unborn cease to be unborn. That's the goal. If the unborn child has made it to the point of being born, then you have succeeded in preventing someone from killing it before it is born. Mission accomplished. The reason why people who want abortion to be illegal don't have to fight for the unborn after it's born is because it is already illegal to kill someone after they're born. It is already illegal to kill a baby and a child and an adult. Those don't need to be fought for. People who are against abortion want the don't kill it law to extend to fetuses as well. You could make this same argument about advocating for any other age group. The elderly are a convenient group of people to advocate for, because when they die, they cease to be elderly. Children are a convenient group to advocate for, because when they grow up, they cease to be children. College students are a convenient group to advocate for, because when they graduate, they cease to be college students. The working class is a convenient group to advocate for, because when they retire, they cease to be the working class. It's pretty common to see people say things like this, where they say, if you're so pro-life, how come you don't support these social programs? And the reason is because more conservatively minded people either A, don't think that these social programs would actually work, which is a whole other subject, or B, they have the general sentiment of, it's not my job to pay for other people's stuff, which is a whole other subject. And of course, you don't have to agree with either of those, and I'm not going to tell you that you should agree with either of those, because that's not what this video's about.
Snake keeps his beliefs private.
But the point is, that doesn't contradict the idea of not wanting to kill a fetus. Not wanting to pay for someone else's stuff is not the same as actively killing them. Conservatives are not fighting for social programs to benefit fetuses, or to give tax money to fetuses. They just want them to not be killed. Has it ever occurred to you that maybe the super duper secret reason why they believe in this is that they believe in this? They're not all sitting around going,
Yes, we will all unanimously change our deeply held beliefs solely so we can control women. Also, half of us are women, don't pay attention to that.
They just genuinely actually believe that abortion is not an okay thing to do. You can think that they're wrong, but that's it. They're wrong, not evil. And if you keep talking to and about them like they're evil, then you're never gonna change their minds. Well, I don't want to change their minds because they're a bunch of bigots anyway. I don't care what they think. Okay, then don't pretend like you're making a difference. The people you don't like, who think things that you don't like, are gonna keep making laws you don't like, because they think those laws are the right thing to make. And if you acknowledge that what you're doing isn't actually an effective way of getting them to stop thinking the way they do, then you're not changing anything. You're just shouting about stuff that you don't like. And you're allowed to do that. It is your
Captain American civil rights
to shout about things you don't like. But don't pretend that you're doing anything more than just that. Don't tell other people that they're not doing their part, when you acknowledge that the part you're playing isn't even effective. So, the title of this video says everyone, and so far I've only been addressing the pro-abortion side, so now I'm gonna switch over to the other side of the fence. You can definitely tell from the timestamp on this video that I spent more time on the pro-abortion side because they have more arguments, or at least it seems like they have more arguments. Maybe that's just because I spend more time surrounded by those types of people. The anti-abortion side mostly just sticks to you're killing babies, which is not a very robust argument in and of itself, and it's not really that effective against people who don't think that abortion is killing a baby, just like how most pro-abortion arguments aren't really that effective against someone who thinks that abortion is killing a baby. But credit where credit is due, it is technically closer to the topic at hand, that topic being, does it kill babies? Because honestly, most of the benefits of abortion being legal are things that conservatives would consider to be good things. They just don't think those things are worth killing a baby for. The disagreement here isn't about whether or not choice is a good thing or whether or not women deserve rights. The disagreement here is whether or not abortion kills babies. Now, just because the anti-abortion side is technically closer to the right argument in that regard, doesn't mean that they're right. That's sort of the fallacy. Can we talk about the fallacy? I want to talk about the fallacy. Let's talk about the fallacy. So, like, if I say, this is true because my mom said so, that's a bad argument. If I say, the sky is blue, that's a true statement. Now, if I say, the sky is blue because my mom said so, that's the same bad argument, but it doesn't make the statement, the sky is blue, any less true. It's just not true for the reason I say it is. If I were to say the sky is blue because my mom said so, and someone else were to say that's a bad argument, therefore the sky is not blue, they'd be wrong. So yeah, that's the fallacy. So when I say that an argument for something is bad, I'm not saying that that means that the conclusion is wrong, just that it's a bad argument. So anyway, on to the other side. So, there's the abortion is wrong because God said so argument. I mean, you can believe that all you want, but that's your religious belief, not everyone else's. And unless you can prove that your religious belief is definitely true, and everyone else's aren't, then that's kind of meaningless. Another big one is that aborted child could grow up to be a doctor or a musician or whatever else argument. The problem with that one is it's sort of an argument about what something could be and not about what it actually is. You could make that argument about any point in the timeline. You could say, what if your child grows up to be a doctor or a musician to someone who isn't pregnant and just doesn't plan on ever having kids? You could say that to someone who doesn't want to get married. You could say that to someone who doesn't want to date. You could say that to a gay person. You could say that to a religious official whose job requires them to remain celibate. Like, hey, why doesn't the Pope have some children? Maybe his kids will grow up to become doctors. You could make that argument about a couple that already has 10 children and doesn't want an 11th. Because, hey, maybe 11th time's the charm. Maybe that 11th kid will grow up to cure cancer. There's also the fact that just like a fetus could grow up to become a great person, they could also grow up to become a murderer or a thief. Once again, it's an argument about what something could become and not about what it is right now. Another argument that's kind of common is that giving people the option to have abortions will make them more irresponsible with their sex lives because they don't have to worry about the consequences of their actions if they can just get an abortion and undo the consequences. And there is some truth to that. Like, yeah, taking away certain consequences can make people more reckless, but, like, it's their right to be reckless. Like, yeah, if someone's, like, constantly having unprotected sex, getting pregnant, and then just terminating the pregnancy and being done with it, like, yeah, that's pretty reckless, probably not very good decision-making on their part, and might even be, like, unhealthy for them, but it's their
Captain American Civil Rights
to make bad, reckless, unhealthy decisions, the same way it's your right to eat nothing but McDonald's every day. It's a bad idea, but you can't stop someone from doing it. You can try to encourage people to, like, be more responsible for their sex lives, and you can try to encourage people who do get pregnant to keep the baby because you think that's the responsible thing to do, but you can't make the law force them to do that just for the purpose of trying to make them more responsible. It's not your decision how responsible another person has to be. Some people will use anecdotes of, like, I knew someone who got an abortion and they were miserable because of it. They regretted it. Which, like, okay, you know, I'm sure you do. But that's an anecdote. You know, there are plenty of people who could make a counterpoint where they know someone who got an abortion who was just fine. It was the best decision that they could have made. They might know someone who didn't get an abortion and wishes that they did and was miserable because they didn't get one. And, you know, even if getting an abortion does make you miserable, It's your
Captain American civil rights
to make decisions that will make you miserable. Sometimes people will post photos of like an aborted fetus looking all baby-like, to show like how it's basically already a baby. But just because something like looks like a baby doesn't mean it is a baby. I could make a fake baby out of Play-Doh right now. That wouldn't mean it's alive. I guess a better argument would be like, you could shave a monkey and that would look like a baby. Doesn't mean it is a baby. And I guess you could argue that like showing how like physically developed the fetus's body is meant to be like representative of how developed it is overall. Like, oh, if it already like is this close to like physically looking like a baby, then imagine how developed like the brain and the nervous system must be as well. But if that's what you're going for, then you might as well just skip the whole like picture of a baby to begin with and just cut right to arguing the brain and the nervous system are developed. Cut out the middleman. Also, while we're on the subject of pictures of fetuses, can you guys like stop showing up outside my high school with like posters with like aborted fetuses on them? I don't go to high school anymore, but I'm just gonna assume that you guys still do it. Could you stop that? Same goes for, there was a meme going around where people were taking like a pro-life post with a picture of a fetus on it and going like, that fetus looks like fried chicken, I'd eat that. Could you not do that? I don't care if it's a clump of cells or an actual baby. I don't want to look at it. Please stop. Everyone, please stop. There's that one infamous clip of the guy saying that the body knows when it's a rape and will make the pregnancy not happen. And so there's no such thing as like rape babies. Yeah, that's not true. That's not true at all. I don't know where you got that from, sir. Like, I really want to believe that you're not just flat out lying and you've just been like horribly misinformed. Maybe you heard it from some guy at a bar and you were like, yeah, that sounds right. But that's not true, sir. I don't know what else to say besides that is just factually incorrect. You guys have probably all seen this by now. There's the guy saying that, like, if a parent rapes their child and the child gets pregnant, that you should keep the baby because the baby is proof that the crime happened. Alright, I see where you're coming from, sir. And I can tell that you're coming at this with noble intentions. But you don't have to let the fetus go all the way to pregnancy to get proof of who the father is. I don't really know the specific ins and outs of like how abortion clinics operate. I don't know if them aborting the baby actually does get rid of like any and all evidence of fatherhood. But if they do, then instead of saying we should just let it go to pregnancy, then that way we have the evidence, I think a better solution would just be to change how abortion clinics operate and like require them to keep a DNA sample of the aborted fetus. That way, even after the baby's been aborted, they still have evidence of who the father is. You don't need to carry it all the way to birth in order to do that. You just need like a DNA sample. I think that's it. Yeah. I do feel kind of bad that like I didn't spend like as much time on the anti-abortion arguments as I did with the pro-abortion ones, because I feel like that's gonna get me like accused of being biased one way. But it really is just because like I can't think of as many anti-abortion arguments in the first place. I don't know if that's just because I live in a blue state, so I hear more pro-abortion arguments in general. Maybe there's a bunch of anti-abortion arguments that have just slipped my mind because I don't hear them very often. However, there is still one group I haven't gone after. That's right, the centrists. There's only one real, like, centrist argument that I have on my mind that I want to talk about, which is, I don't know, sometimes you'll hear people say, like, I think you should be allowed to get an abortion. But some people go too far. Some people have too many. There should be a limit on it. And I don't really agree with that because, like, if abortion is not an okay thing to do, then you shouldn't be allowed to do it at all. You know, you shouldn't be allowed to kill babies sometimes. You don't get a pass on, like, here's the maximum number of babies you can kill. You don't get to kill babies at all. And if abortion isn't killing babies, then you should be allowed to do it as many times as you want, honestly. Saying abortion is okay, but you can only get it so many times, is like telling someone that they're only allowed to kill a certain number of flies in their house. Like, no, if it's okay to kill one fly, it's okay to kill 100. And if there is something morally wrong with killing flies, then you shouldn't be allowed to kill any flies at all. So there we go. I've gone after everyone. I've gone after the pro side, I've gone after the anti side, and I've gone after the centrists. I am beyond party. I am ascended. Ooh, I'm a Democrat. I want to kill babies. Ooh, I'm a Republican. I hate women. Ooh, I'm a centrist. I want half a white ethno-state. No, none of that. I have reached the Z-axis of the political spectrum. I am the ultimate free thinker!